the Fade 5 Podcast with Brad Evans and Nate Lundy.
Place your bet, ya jackwagons. Welcome to the Fade 5 Podcast, and it's a hashtag Tequila Thursday, mi amigos. Let's party, because Lundy's team, he's there with the Mile High Cities in action. Kind of a meaningful game going against the LA Chargers for postseason purposes. So, ton of fun under the primetime lights there on Amazon. As we always do, let's hop aboard the Honk Honk Plus Plus to kick off every single one of the Fade 5 podcasts. A plus $100 or greater is the requirement. Lundy, there's a lot of plus action I like in this game, but what is catching your eye?
Well, there's plenty of plus action in this game tonight. We can talk about that as we go through the Fade 5, but let me take a trip to the ice. Nine games on the docket for this evening. Nine times. There are 9 games on the docket. And, folks, this makes absolutely 0 sense to me. 0 sense to me that this should be at plus odds right now. You can get it at plus 105 at either DraftKings or BetMGM. Braden Point, hello. It's in his name, a point, right? Braden Point of the Tampa Bay Lightning. We need him to have an assist tonight as they take on the lowly St. Louis Blues. Why is this a surprise to me? Because Braden Point has 11 assists in his last 6 games. 11 of them in his last 6 games, and you're going to give me plus odds for a dude who is absolutely en fuego right now, as are his teammates. Check this out. Nikita Kucherov has 18 points in his last 8 games. Jake Gensel has 12 points in his last 7, and Braden Point, to go along with those 11 assists, has 5 goals. He has 16 points in his last 6 games. The Lightning are absolutely striking, see what I did there, at the right time. So we're going to take Braden Point to have an assist at home against St. Louis, plus 105. Again, you can snag this at BetMGM. You can snag it at DraftKings. It's kind of universally sitting in the plus odds across the board. The guy is finding dimes left and right on the ice, and I say he does it again tonight.
All right, that might be a bolt for the Blue, but maybe not. And then talking about the Bolts, the Denver Broncos going up against them. Lundy, before I get my pick, you're there in the Mile High City. You always are on top of everything that's going on, the ins and outs of the Denver Broncos franchise. Handicap the backfield for me. What is the distribution going to be tonight with no Jaleel McLaughlin? And you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I did that on purpose because normally you just talk, and I can sit over here and sniffle. No, I think Sean Payton, unfortunately, Brad, likes to do the hot hand type of thing. I think they really want Javonte Williams to be able to be the back, but he just hasn't been able to do it. I mean, what's he averaging? Like -7 yards a carry, it feels like. I mean, he's just not getting it done. So here's what I think may wind up happening this evening. I think coming out of the gate, they're going to try to get Javonte Williams going. If that doesn't happen, then I think the rest of the way you may see something that's along the lines of 60-40 with Audric Estime. I think you will see Marvin Mims coming off of his award as Special Teams Player of the Week in the AFC. I think you will see him on some of those sweeps. They will try to get him involved as well. Again, coming off that massive punt return that set them up and helped them get the victory last weekend here in Denver against the Colts. So I think they're going to try to get J. Will going. But based on history, I'm afraid that his wheels are going to spin in the mud.
Oh, well, with that information and timely, I'm still going to back this selection. Audric Estime to have the most rush yards in the game at a plus 425 there. Yeah, roll the show doesn't get seduced by that juice at BetMGM. I think the breakout could happen tonight. It's overdue. I look at the efficiency data, far and away the most effective back on this roster right now. Better McLaughlin when he's healthy, much better than Javonte Williams, who has been the antithesis of a juggernaut this season. He's been running in molasses really for much of the year, but Estime is a guy that gets a lot of yards after initial contact. Let me give you the evidence why. His 3.35 yak per attempt mark among qualifying rushers, top 20 in the NFL this season, also forcing a missed tackle on 19.6%. of his attempts. Look at LAC, number 24 in rush EPAD over the last 5 weeks. They've given up the 13th most yards to the running back position this year, specifically 4.63 yards per carry. Again, just to RBs. That's a handsome number there. And 100.3 rush yards per game. So I think the hot hand at some point is going to transfer to Audric Estime. Do it for the Fighting Irish. They're playing on Friday night in the college football playoff against Indiana. Channel that energy. Do it for Rudy Rudiger. And we're cashing in because all the rushers in this game kind of suck, to be honest. So anyone's best guess who's going to lead this game in rush yards. And by the way, too, a little early bonus time. I put a quarter unit on Bo Nix to lead the game in rush yards at 12-1 at BetMGM. Remember, he had 61 yards in the first matchup back in week 6. With those bets on the board, let's get after it on this hashtag Tequila Thursday. Bartender, pour us another edition of the Fade 5.
Number 5.
Mosico here on the countdown on this Thursday Night Football. Broncos and Chargers. I'm going to live in the land down under on Justin Herbert rush yards at 11.5 and a minus 115 juice there at BetMGM. Normally, if he were 100%, I would smash the over on this, but he's got that ankle issue, and he could be limited like he was in the first match. I remember he was dealing with that high ankle sprain back in week 6 still, and the lingering effects of that. Only had a couple of rush yards in that game, and I think he's going to be ultra conservative, more pocket tied. I know the Broncos, the second most aggressive defense in the NFL according to pocket pressure rate at 28.2%, but Denver number 2 in rush EPAD over the last 5 weeks. That is a calling card. It's a pass defense, the rush defense, really the total defense. They have given up 16.9 rush yards per game to the quarterback position this season. 7 QBs have gone over 11.5 ground yards against them, but Herbert, I know he's averaging 16 yards per game on the ground, 3.9 attempts per game, but I just, reflect back in week 6, dealing with that ankle injury. He aggravated it last week. He's nowhere near 100%. I think he's got to drop back and sling it most often in this game, and is not going to call his own number and take off even under intense duress throughout the entire affair. So put all together, I'm taking the under. Numero 5 of the countdown. Justin Herbert, 11.5 rush yards, a minus 115 juice there at BetMGM. Lundy, better follow.
I'm going to follow on this one, even though I do get a little bit concerned of him scrambling just a bit with the way the Broncos bring that pressure up the middle. The good news is they've got guys out on the outside, not the least of which is Nick Bonito, but they've got guys out there that can try to contain him. So here's part of the reason I think I would lean into this is this idea that even if he tries to take off and move, I don't think he's going for like 5 or 6. I think it's one of those where he's scrambling. He's picking up maybe 2, maybe 3 before he slides or before he gets his head wrung off by these guys, by this defense and the way they've been playing lately. So if you put all that together, I just don't see him getting to a dozen yards.
Hey, Herbert, remember that ankle? It hurts.
Number 4.
All right, numero 4 here on the Fade 5 countdown, Thursday Night Football edition. I love the odds on this. Courtland Sutton, the pride of SMU, and lay the action down on that former pony for most receiving yards in the game at a plus 180 there at BetMGM. Still rolling the shoulders, still getting seduced by the juice because I could not believe my eyes when I saw this at nearly 2-1. Phenomenal matchup for him. You look at the Chargers, number 22 in pass EPA defense over the last 5 weeks. They've allowed the 12th most wide receiver yards on the season. He's going to get a ton of Christian Fulton in coverage there on the outside. And Fulton has allowed a 61.3% catch rate on the air, 104.1 passer rating on the season. And over the last 5 weeks, he's get up to 6th most yards of any defensive back in the National Football League. Again, supreme matchup. Sutton's gone for at least 70 yards in 6 of his last 7 games. Had a decent showing back in week 6 in that first matchup, and he really hadn't blossomed yet. He had 6 targets in that one, 4 receptions, 53 yards, and a touchdown. He's averaging 8 targets per game. Again, it seems like a layup almost in my mind that he is going to set the pace in receiving yards. My only concern is Lad McConkey Donkey. can nibble and snack on a lot of those short intermediate pass catches and really pile up the yards. But Sutton is a big catch machine. Bo Nix is going to take some of those risks down the field. I think he's going to have a lot of successful connections to Sutton, given the shortcomings of this Chargers defense, which is really unplugged over the last handful of weeks. So to recap, numero cuatro here on the Fade 5 Countdown, Courtland Sutton, most receiving yards in the game at plus 180 at BetMGM. Good sir. Fade or follow?
Well, I think it'll wind up being either McConkey or Sutton. Sutton's at the plus 180, McConkey's at plus 170. So you got 10 cents juice that you're basically rolling the dice to play with. I don't think it's a bad idea to go with Sutton. The only question, like you said, is Ladd McConkey getting it in terms of smaller chunks, or depending upon what this game script looks like. Are we going to see the Chargers team that we saw earlier on in the season, or are we going to see the one from last weekend?
Yeah, that could be the case. I'm just praying for a competitive game. Courtland, do your thing.
Number 3.
All right, numero cuatro was there, and I accidentally just deleted numero tres. So let me go ahead and retype.
Wait a minute. Let's see.
Talks amongst yourselves.
Okay, hold on. Let's get into, I told you, we got 9 games on the NHL. We'll consider this some early bonus time, if you will. I already told you that I liked Braden Point to be able to get an assist. I gave you the guys that are absolutely on fire for Tampa. So go in and create an SGP with each of those guys to get a point. Forget the assist side. Go with Braden Point. Go with Jake Gensel. Go with Nikita Kucherov. I see no reason to think that those guys are going to have their point streak come to an end tonight again against a lowly Blues team, especially at home in Tampa. So that's one I was going to give you coming up. I don't have the odds in front of me, but you're going to want all 3 of those guys for a point, and you're going to want to take Tampa on the money line. Put all of those things together. It's going to be in the low 100s. It might only get you up to about plus 120, plus 125, but it's going to be somewhere in that range to take those 3 guys, Kucherov, Gensel, and Point, and then Tampa on the money line. Build that one for yourself tonight on the National Hockey League. Did I give you enough time there, Bradley?
Yes, you did, and that's why you are a radio professional, mi amigo. Numero tres on the countdown, Marvin Mims. Give me the over on 22.5 receiving yards and a minus 115 juice there at BetMGM. Lundy's right. Mims' role is growing. And it's growing steadily here in the last 3 weeks. He's got at least 4 targets in each of his last 3 games. If he gets a similar workload tonight, maybe it's like 5 targets, maybe as many as 6 targets. I'm sure he's going to get some of that jet sweep action, but I think he's got to catch a couple of long passes as well. And all we need is Michael Jordan, 23, to cash on this ticket. You look at Mims, he's averaging 2.4 targets per game on the year. But again, 4 targets in each of his last 4 games in which he has gone over this number. In 3 of his last 4 games, 8.38, not all that attractive on the year, but he's got that explosiveness. That's why he's number 22 among all eligible wide receivers, despite the limited workload. In total yak this season, number 18 in yards per route run. He did not catch a single ball in the first matchup back in week 6, but it's a different set of circumstances, and his role has really ramped up. Chargers number 22 in pass EPAD over the last 5 weeks. Again, they've given up the 12th most wide receiver yards this season. 30 wide receivers against LAC have gone for at least 23 receiving yards. Probably get a lot of tar heap still in coverage. He was a lot of the 21st most yards in defensive back over the last 5 weeks, giving a 14.9 yards per catch. Really, all I need is 2 catches. Heck, he can do this on 1 grab. Marvin Mims, make me some money on the over 22.5 receiving yards at a minus 115 juice at BetMGM. And Lundy, numero tres on the countdown. Fade or follow?
This to me is an easy one, honestly. I think they're going to keep trying to find ways to get him involved. He is a playmaker for them. You saw on that punt return that I referred to earlier, the speed that he's got. Once he gets to that outside, man, people are chasing and they're trying to grab from behind because he gets those legs going and he is really quick. It's why without Jaleel McLaughlin, I see him doing some stuff out of the backfield. I think the creativity of Sean Payton is going to be involved. I think he gets over this receiving yards number, but I also think we're going to see some rushing yards out of him because of the potential of the sweeps and things like that. Like I said, I think Sean Payton's going to get creative tonight. If Javonte Williams and Audric Estime can't get going, he's got to find something coming out of that backfield. So I do think that Marvin, you left out the V, will have over 22. You're just like, you're sucking.
I'm
this
all
morning.
over the place.
Are you okay?
Yeah,
Are you
no,
all right?
again, man, there might have been a lot of eggnog consumed last night. It's a holiday.
Oh, I see what we're talking about. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. I see what happened now. You know what you need to be able to do is get your brain out of Cuba, because I see that's the shirt you're wearing here today. I think you might have yourself in the tropics and not necessarily thinking about Amazon Prime tonight.
Yeah, that is entirely fair, which means there are highly favorable opportunities in addition to what we're giving you right now at thegamingjuice.com. It's absolutely free, you jackwagons. Go and sign up for a free account today. All my fantasy football content lives here if you're still live in the second round of your fantasy playoffs. Fantasy the Flames at quarterback and running back already live. Wide receiver tight end's going to post on Friday, along with my top 5 player pop selections in week 16 in the National Football League. Churn out college basketball content regularly. Also, Ben Wittenstein, Nate Jacobson, they have all the previews in the college football playoff, the bowl season. I already got some of those columns live right now on the site. So if you have interest in betting on the junior circuit, go ahead and read their 2 cents. Fade or follow, as I always say, that is up to you. Lundy's free spreadsheet lives there. All his buck selections. Brandon Velasquez also turn out some NHL pieces as well. Get it all at thegamingjuice.com. Click, converse, and cash. ... Maybe.
Number 2.
All right, numero dos here on the Fave 5 countdown. Let's simplify the SGP. No player prop involved. We're just looking at the spread and the total. Simple 2-legger. Give me Denver plus 3.5 there on the alt line. And I'm going to jack the total up to 52.5 and slam dunk that under on that 52.5 number. When you put those hands together there at BetMGM plus 110. Kind of like the juice there, available at BetMGM. I think the Broncos honestly have a really good shot to win this game straight up. They're playing white-hot football right now, really firing on all cylinders, particularly defensively. On the opposite end of the spectrum, that's where the Chargers are right now. They are number 20 in EPA per play offense, 25 in EPA per play defense. Yeah, that defense has really come unraveled here. Over the last 5 weeks, the Broncos are numero uno in EPA per play defense. Over that same 5-week span, and more respectable number 13 in EPA per play offense. I believe, folks, that the Broncos could win this thing outright, but at worst, I think they're going to lose it on a late game field goal boot from Dicker the kicker. So that's why I'm going to throw in the plus 3.5, and Captain Hook, yar, shiver me timbers. Hello, amigos. Could actually work in our favor as a result. Betalytics and my buddy Rachel Dory there has got this projected at 43.08 in the game total. So nice little 9-point cushion as a result. Remember, game 1 was 23-16 Broncos. I'm no math major, but that is 39. So put it all together. SGP, numero dos in the countdown. Broncos plus 3.5, and the under on the all total 52.5 plus 110 at BetMGM. And Lundy, better follow.
I'll roll with you with this one. I don't mind the idea of Denver catching the 3.5, and I don't think you're going to see this total get up that high. I mean, besides, it's a Thursday night game. It's on. That never happens on Thursday night games. It feels like. So I don't think we're going to be sitting with the massive over total. For example, that we saw on Tuesday night in the bowl games. So defense is actually going to happen here, especially on the Broncos side of things. They're going to be looking to shut down Justin Herbert and the Chargers as much as possible. The fact that J.K. Dobbins isn't there is going to play into the Broncos' favor. All of those things are going to help them. I think they keep it close. Maybe Dicker comes out and does something late. But look, if Denver wins tonight, they clinch a playoff spot. This team knows that. They know how long it has been since Denver has been there. Sean Payton knows that. And look, the interviews with Bo Nix this week, somebody asked him, "Oh, okay, you gotta win one more to get into the playoffs." And Bo looked at him and was like, "We're gonna win 3 more." And then he walked off the podium.
Yes.
He literally was just, he Obama mic dropped it and just took off. Like that was how he ended his commentary. So dude is ready to not only win this game, but to keep going through the last 3 weeks. They've got the Chargers tonight. They've got the Bengals next Saturday, and then they finish off against the Chiefs here in Denver. So they've got a lot of opportunities to win, to clinch that spot. But they're not looking at it as well, let's win one and be done. I think they want to keep rolling, and I think that starts tonight. So I don't mind the plus 3.5, but I think Denver's winning this tonight.
This bet won't be incomplete
Number 1.
Numero uno here on the Fave 5 Countdown. My top play on Thursday Night Football. Let's double down on my guy, Courtland Sutton. It's great to see him flourishing right now as the wide receiver 1 in the Mile High City. I'm going to take him in the anytime touchdown market because I think it's an extreme and supreme value at plus 180. Exact same odds as him leading the game in receiving yards. Available also there at BetMGM. Again, Sutton has really turned it on here down the home stretch. He is number 4 on the season and total red zone targets among all NFL wide receivers with 17. Specifically in that category, he is splash 6 in 3 of his last 5 games. In the first matchup back in week 6, 6 targets, 4 receptions, 53 yards, and guess what? A touchdown. I think he's going to replicate that line. Actually, I think the yardage is going to be much higher, but I think he will find the end zone this evening. Going to get a lot of Christian Fulton, as already said, in coverage. Fulton this season's given up 4 touchdowns to his assignments on the year. And you look at LAC, they've allowed 16 wide receiver touchdowns in total. I mentioned the EPA data, well outside the top 20 in myriad categories, including pass EPAD. Since week 10. So put all together, Courtland Sutton, baby, I think is going to spike one home. My top play on this edition of the Fade 5 podcast. Anytime touchdown, plus 180 at BetMGM. Good, sir. Fade to follow.
Oh, yeah. Plus 180? You kidding me?
Yeah, great.
God, I hate following on everything. Pissing me off, Brad.
Well, you know what that means. Fade on all 5. And just go ahead and do the opposite. Put them at a parlay, and congratulations on your Muhammad Island.
You're scaring me with this crap. We can't be doing this. All right, we can't be doing it. I can't follow you this many times.
Well, that's why we have bonus time. Bonus time. Lundy, I don't blindly follow you on hockey because I don't bet on it. You've already worked in an NHL wager, but you said 9 times 9. That's how many games are available to choose from. So I know you got some additional action in that sport. Maybe somewhere else on Thursday Night Football. Maybe somewhere else across the spectrum of sports betting. So please share me, amigo. What do you got?
Let's talk about the folks in Compton. How about a plus 187 parlay for this evening? I already told you about Tampa. I'm going to take Tampa on the money line at home, and then I'm going to take a couple of road teams that I believe are going to handle business. This is some heavy chalk, but again, a 3-legger that comes out at plus 187. Give me the New Jersey Devils on the road, taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets. We'll snag them on the money line as well, and then going to do the same thing in San Jose as the San Jose Sharks / Minnows will be hosting my Colorado Avalanche on the late night tip tonight. Yeah, puck drop is not until like 8:45 my time.
Wow.
Which means 10:45 Eastern. But if I take Colorado on the money line, I take New Jersey on the money line, I take Tampa on the money line, those 3, as I said, adds up to the sexy plus 187. Again, I don't need it in regulation. If something gets crazy and this has to go to OT, that's fine. We just need to make sure that those guys take care of business. I always get nervous with folks on the road, but again, with the way San Jose and Columbus have been playing, I feel good about Colorado and New Jersey, even though they are on the road. Brad told you that he likes the idea of sprinkling something on Audric Estime to have the most rushing yards in the game. Folks, his over-under on rushing yards total is only 25.5. Play the over. And it's standard juice at a minus 110. I absolutely like that one as well. He may, this may turn into a hot hand thing with Sean Payton. It may just be what he does in terms of the running back by committee. However, I do think that if he is going to try to get Javonte Williams involved, if Williams can't get it going between the tackles, he may try to dump it to him out on the outside, and Estime becomes the guy that's going to try to get the job done between the tackles. If that's the case, 25 yards should be fine. You go all the way back to the first time these two teams met. Estime only had 2 carries. One of them was for 2 yards. The other one was for 11. So if he can break something like that against the Chargers, and one of the talks here amongst the fans as well as the media is the fact that you see Estime do this. He will break off an 8-yard run, a 9-yard run, a 10-yard run, and then the frustration here locally in Denver is, hey, Sean, give him the ball, man. Like, what the heck are you thinking? That game against the Chargers is an example of that, where folks were like, man, he busted out one for 11 and you only gave it to him twice. Without Jaleel McLaughlin, I think he's going to have to give it to him more. I think that 25.5 number is way low in terms of Audric Estime and where his carries may wind up being. I think they're banking on this being a Javonte Williams game. At the worst, I think, Brad, this is going to be like a 60-40 split. I really do.
Yep.
In Javonte Williams' favor. And if you can give me Audric Estime on 40% of the carries, he is going to get past that 25.5 number. I think that is set way, way, way too low. This one is juiced way up. I got it earlier this week at like minus 120. It is now minus 145. And that is, give me the under on the Gus Bus longest rush of 10.5 yards. That ain't happening, folks. I just can't see him getting up to 11 yards on a carry. His efficiency has been terrible. He's a guy that helps them at the goal line, but not between the 20s. That is it, man. And so I got it, like I said, I got it earlier this week at minus 120. At DraftKings right now, it is minus 145 for him to go under that 10.5 for longest rush. So I just throw that one out there. And then, Brad, I was kind of tempted on this one as well. And so I decided to take it. I bet it this morning at minus 115. Going back to your Bo Nix comment, over 10.5 on his longest rush this evening. Standard juice, minus 115. Nix is really smart. He's got it going on between the ears. He knows when to run, and he does it when he sees the green in front of him. And so I think the chances of him getting up to like an 11, 12-yard, 13-yard carry, I mean, we've seen him do it plenty of times this season. That one, again, standard juice, minus 115 at DraftKings. I'll take the over Bo Nix longest rush at 10.5. I yield the floor to the fine gentleman from Illinois.
Holy macro, I love that last call by you. I'm going to tail that immediately as soon as I jump off and hit the end recording button here in StreamYard on the Fade 5 podcast. All right, let's work on the team Huevos Parlay Play on Thursday Night Football. Of course, an SGP leg numero uno. Give me Bo Nix, 15 or more rush yards. Leg numero dos. Give me one Bo Nix pass or rush TD. I don't care what it is. I just need one of them. And leg numero tres. I'm going to take the all total under 49.5. I built the CDSPN bet. I'll reserve the juice after giving the reasonings on each. Lundy loves, again, the over on Bo Nix have 10.5 on the longest run in the game. And remember, he went for 61 on 6 carries in that first matchup. Now, I don't know if he's going to duplicate that kind of effort. And the number one bet prop in this game, according to BetMGM, is the under, believe it or not, on Bo Nix 20.5 rush yards. Fade the living daylights out of that. I think Bo Nix will have himself a nice night on the ground. I know the Chargers bottom 8 in pocket pressure rate on the season, but a guy that does read, recognize, and take off. And when he sees all that green grass in front of him, and somebody's going to be able to take advantage of that. He's averaging 5.4 rush attempts per game. LAC has given up the 11th most rush yards to the quarterback position this season, well north of 20 in that category. You look at Nix, he's gone for at least 15 in 6 of his last 7 games. LA has given that up to quarterbacks in 6 of the last 7 games. Nix has done this more than a handful of times this season, so I don't care if the pocket pressure is really not going to ramp up. He's going to be able to, trickle outside the pocket. He's going to see the defense sit back. He's going to be like, oh my goodness, or give me a free 10 yards, and he gone. All we need is 15 to cash that first leg, and I think it's going to happen. Leg numero dos, one or more passing or rushing touchdowns for Bo Nix. He's done this 11-14 games. He's number 11 in red zone completion percentage. He did it not once, but twice through the air in the first game. Didn't find it with his legs, but hey, that satisfies what we need. Again, LAC number 25 and EP per play defense since week 10. And leg numero tres, the game under 49.5. Again, it was 39 in total back in week 6. Denver, as I already told you, number 1 in EPA defense for the last 5 weeks. Both outside the top 10 EPA per play offense in several categories this season. So as long as OT doesn't come into play here, I think this game is going to be well under the 49.5. So to recap, the team Huevos Parlay Play, Bo Nix, 15 or more rush yards. Bo Nix, 1 or more passing or rushing TDs. And the game under on the all total 40.5. Uno, dos, tres, put them all together at plus 140 there. Attractive juice at ESPN Bet. Elsewhere, bonus time. Lundy, I kind of like Amani Vidal on the over 11.5 receiving yards. Now, He had 2 receptions. That was it. And he had a long reception in that first matchup at Empower Field, but he finished for 40 yards and he had a receiving touchdown in that game. Gus Edwards stinks. Gus Edwards is not a pass catcher. And I think the Broncos are going to have a positive game script at some point in this contest that could come late. So if LAC is in catch-up mode at any point, Vidal just has more juice he brings to the table with that speed, and he has reliable hands. His routes per game are starting to increase here down the home stretch. All we need is 12 to cash. It's 11.5 on receiving yards. Give me the over on that. I think is going to come through.
And to add to that, think about what the Broncos have in their front seven right now. And think about the fact that one of the things you're going to have to do from a game script standpoint, if you are Harbaugh, is you are going to have to find a way to get to the outside. You have to.
Yep.
And get away from, Jonathan Franklin Myers, get away from Nick Benito, get away from that interior. And if that is the case, Vidal is going to be the guy that has to get involved.
Yeah, no doubt. And really, he should be the main man because you're right. Gus Edwards is only a goal line gremlin. That's all he's good for because he's washed. He's running on some flat tires right now, the Gus Bus is. Then last play for me.
Last one real quick. Keep in mind, Broncos give up an average of 40 yards receiving per game to the running back position, and that ain't Gus Edwards.
Interesting. Yeah.
40 yards per game through the air is what the Broncos give up. So that number to me with Vidal, if they get him involved, he should crush that number, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And all we need is a dozen, and we cash in.
By the way, to give you guys an idea, that line opened, by the way, Vidal's line opened for receiving at 9.5.
Holy cow. It's still great value at 11.5.
It's still great value at 11, but it opened at 9.5. It's gone up 20%.
Yep, and it should be around 15.5, quite frankly. I mean, I may play it up to 19.5. I may alt market that, ladder it. Why the hell not? And I got one more play for you, the World of College Basketball. Terrible slate, but there, of course, there's action to be had. 2 like Monday Line Parlay on the late night tip. Give me the Anteaters of UC Irvine taking on Belmont on the road there in Nash Vegas. And then give me Pepperdine on the money line there against the LBC. Quick background, Irvine's number 9 in the country in the EFG defense. They are locked down. They're only giving up 29.1% along the arc, plus rebounding. Again, that 3-point defense is outstanding, and a team that really makes you pay at the charity stripe. They're netting 83.8% on their free throws, and this game should be tight and maybe come down the final seconds. Belmont is entirely 3 dependent. They're shooting 37.2% from outside. Over 40% of their jacks are come from distance as well. And again, that's the biggest strength defensively of Irvine. They go out and challenge and contest a lot of shots. And on top of that, Belmont is rubbish in rebounding and also free throw percentage. So I think Irvine does win on the road against the Belmont Bruins. And then Pepperdine, 5-1 at home. They're against the LBC, Long Beach State. Decent defensive team. Or the Wave, number 99 in EFGD. Very good 3-point offensive team. And a team that gets 52.2% of their points from inside the arc. And you look at Long Beach State, they're number 211 in 2-point percentage on the season, number 232 in EFGD overall, and they're outside the top 215 in offensive and defensive rebounding percentage. So advantage Pepperdine. So all I need is Pepperdine to win, and I need UC Irvine, and when you put those together, plus 148 at DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, I am out of breath, and we are out of time here on the Fade 5 podcast. Do us a favor, would you kindly drop us a rating and a review at your convenience. Also, fade or follow us on the X, where we're always giving it to you. Lundy, at Nate Lundy, myself, at Noisy Huevos. Go to thegamingjuice.com right now and sign up for a free account. And let's chat. Send me a question. Click Ask Brad and fire away. Again, I don't charge you a single cent. So read all of our content there. Check out the spreadsheets. Make some moolah tonight. And until next time, as always, feed or follow. That is up to you. Buck up, Broncos!